What are some Icelandic Gambit Declined traps? Have you ever wondered what traps lie in wait when your opponent declines the Icelandic Gambit? Let's break down some key ideas and traps that can catch players off guard. The Icelandic Gambit arises from the Scandinavian defense and starts with the moves 1 pawn to e4, 1 pawn to d5, capturing with 1 pawn to e5, and knight to f6. Black offers a pawn for quick development and open lines. When white declines the gambit, the game can shift to a more positional struggle, but there are still traps to be aware of. The Icelandic Gambit Declined happens when white chooses not to capture the pawn on e6. Instead, they might develop pieces or defend. Common moves to decline include knight to c3 or pawn to d4. These choices lead to structures similar to the French defense exchange variation. In these lines, black looks to take advantage of white's lack of central control or isolated pawns. One common trap occurs after white plays knight to c3. If black responds with pawn to e5 and white plays pawn to d3, black can develop their bishop to c5. If white then plays pawn to h3, black can strike with knight to e4, putting pressure on the f2 square. After white captures on e4, black can play bishop takes f2, winning material or gaining a strong position. Another situation arises when white plays pawn to d4, leading to a position resembling the French defense exchange variation. Here, the game is generally balanced, but black can exploit white's backward d-pawn or lack of development. Black often gets active piece play and open lines, making it essential for white to be precise in development and pawn structure. When facing the Icelandic Gambit Declined, white should be cautious of isolated or backward pawns if they are not careful with exchanges. Black's strategy focuses on using open lines and active pieces to create threats, especially against white's king or weak pawns. White's best approach is to develop quickly, avoid unnecessary pawn weaknesses, and stay alert for tactical tricks, particularly around the f to and d for squares. In summary, after knight to c3, if black plays pawn to e5 and white responds with pawn to d3, black can gain an advantage with bishop to c5 and knight to e4. White should be mindful of creating isolated or backward pawns when declining the gambit. Black's piece activity and open lines can lead to quick tactical shots if white is not vigilant. Understanding these traps can be beneficial for both sides when handling the Icelandic Gambit Declined.